If you're about to shop for oil paints, it's worth being aware of a few things so that you have the best chance of being happiest with your finished product. You'll quickly discover that there is a range of product prices for a single tube of oil paint. They can be very, very inexpensive or very, very, very expensive. So I would avoid choosing something that's on the extremely inexpensive side, which is generally a store brand product. Many art supply stores have their own line of store brand oil paints, and they generally just don't mix as well. They often cause more frustration for students when they're working on creating a painting, and many times they don't give you the same kind of result. So I would generally steer away from the store brand products. Instead, I recommend choosing a brand that's more reliable for use by artists. You can do a quick Google search online or go to any art supply store website, and you'll often see a list of those kind of brands readily available. Ones I particularly choose are Sennelier or the Winsor & Newton line. I also like Gamblin paints, but there are multiple other options that you can consider. I'd recommend choosing something that artists more commonly use because they choose those paints for a reason. Yes, they do cost a little bit more, but the end result and the process is so much simpler and often much more satisfying than when cheaper options are chosen. Once you've chosen a brand to work with, your decision-making isn't over yet, because within each brand, there are often a couple of different tiers of quality that are available. For instance, with Winsor & Newton, they have a product line designed specifically for artists and one that's a little bit more budget-friendly. The artist's line is going to have higher quality pigment, greater concentration, and fewer fillers, so this will be a superior product. However, superior products often come with superior price tags, and so for many, the Winton product line that they offer is a little bit of a grade down, still a very good paint to use, but it is more budget friendly, and so that makes it a good choice for a lot of painters. Other brands may distinguish their top tier from their lesser tier differently. For instance, some brands distinguish extra fine paint from fine paint, and extra fine is going to be the superior product. Also, you may notice on the front of your tube of paint, it may say Series 1 or Series 2. And this is in reference for Winsor & Newton to the quality of pigment that is used, the materials that go into making the pigments. So Series 1 is going to be generally less expensive and Series 2 is going to be more expensive. It's important to pay attention to the words that are on your paint tubes so that you know that you're getting the product that's best going to suit your needs and your budget. I'd like to just demonstrate what some of these different paint varieties look like when they come right out of the tube. And so I'm going to start with some store brands here. So you can see right away I'm getting kind of that blob of oil. The paint has just kind of separated, which does happen sometimes, but I feel like it happens more commonly in the store brands. And look, even as I gently mix that, like there's a lot of separation between the oil and the pigment. It's more of an inconsistent consistency, I suppose. It takes a lot more working with to get it mixed up. And even so, if I apply it kind of thinly, you see through it very easily. There's not a lot of opacity, not a lot of good, strong coverage with that paint. I'm going to try another of the store brand. We'll squirt it out and see how that comes out. A little bit of less oil quantity from the get-go. But you can see it already just doesn't look like it holds together very well. It kind of separates. It takes a lot of working together before you get kind of a homogeneous mixture. And again, it's just kind of runny. It doesn't hold its shape very nicely. Doesn't give great coverage. And then one more of the store brand here. Squirt that out here. Again, we've got a lot of separation in the paint. And as we mix it, I don't know if you can tell, but the texture is kind of chunky even within here. It doesn't even look like a smooth product up close. As I spread it around, again, it's very liquidy. And I realize a lot of times people like to thin down their oil paints so that they are more fluid-like, more spreadable. But I'd rather start with a thick product and thin it as I have need than use something that is kind of clearly just seems inferior to me from the get-go. Just very runny from the start. Then I'm going to go here with extra fine sap green from Sennelier. And you can see that this product right away really holds its shape. It's like a nice three-dimensional little blob. And as I spread it around, like it has a good spreadability. It visually looks nice and smooth. and it has very good coverage behind it. So you're not, when you spread it, you're not seeing the white peek through underneath the way that you do with these other options here. Here, I know this is white, so it'll be maybe a little bit hard to see, but this is the Winsor & Newton Artist's Oil Color. And again, you can see that shape. You know, it really holds together very nicely. It is a nice textured product. Oh, I guess I had a little bit of the green. So I'm tinting it a little green, that's okay. But look, as I spread that around, it's such a nice creamy product. It's like working with frosting, and it spreads so uniformly. Like the color in both of these higher quality products, the color is pretty consistent throughout the whole space that I've covered. Same thing with the white here. But over here, the color lacks consistency. It varies depending on the thickness or the thinness of the paint. And it just is goopier, runnier. It just feels more difficult to work with. This I can be more precise in my placement because the paint is going to hold together more nicely. And lastly, I'd like to talk about choosing hue colors where they are appropriate. And hue options are colors that very closely resemble their original traditional pigment, but they have a little bit of a different chemical makeup, a little bit of a different pigment makeup that makes them less expensive and sometimes even less toxic. So you might consider choosing a hue option. For instance, if you're choosing cerulean blue and that seems out of your price point, you can choose cerulean blue hue and still get a quality product that'll give you the look you want for a fraction of the cost. So thanks so much for sticking with me today and learning a bit about different brands and different varieties within brands and even hues versus traditional pigments. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments below, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.